Alright, we get to take the play. We are playing black-white auras against blue-white control Lotus Field variant, which is not the best matchup in the world. Hand like this, we like to see a third land so that we can play a creature and a 1-mana aura on turn 3. But otherwise, not yet. Okay, we're going to jam Light-Paws. Let's see, their removal spells, 2 March of Otherworldly Lights, 4 Fatefully Absent. If they elect to... no. Was hoping Strict Proctor, but Lotus Field Stifle is going to be real annoying. Lets them Teferi next turn. They only have 3 Teferis. Okay, Spiritdancers... well, lands that we can Spiritdancer is solid. So we Spiritdancer here. We Sentinel's Eyes on the Spiritdancer. This actually insulates us a little bit from Teferi. Both Heliod's punishments in a matchup where it's kind of useless is rough. We get Ghostform to protect our Light-Paws from removal. How many commits is the opponent playing? None. But 2 Settle the Wreckages is rough. Okay, Divine Purge. We return Light-Paws to play. This puts Sentinel's Eyes back in the graveyard to let us reset up the same thing again. Interesting. So to me this reads like they probably have a removal spell for Light-Paws, which definitely sucks. We're just going to go for Spiritdancers again. Because if they have a removal spell for Light-Paws, I would prefer... I don't have enough stuff in the graveyard to use Sentinel's Eyes, which means I was supposed to go Inquisition into All That Glitters. Right. Because the Spiritdancer didn't go to the graveyard.
Announcement received. Round timer started.
Okay. Alright, there's the Fatefully Absent. Okay, so now I could Sentinel's Eyes the Spiritdancer. Cantripping here to potentially hit a land drop. It's likely relevant. Opponent has no copies of Narset in the 75. Wow, okay. Interesting. So, meaningfully, Inquisition can't actually hit anything relevant here. So I think we just Sentinel's Eyes and see if we can hit this land drop, ideally. No. A Ghostform would have been preferable to play on Spiritdancer here. But, oh well. Yeah, the 2 Heliod's punishments being like the cards that we want to sideboard out in this matchup are just doing some brutal work to this opening hand. Mage's Charm, draw 2. Okay. So what kind of removal spells for Spiritdancer do we have? Fatefully Absent, perhaps? Opponent passing with something held up here. Okay, Thoughtseize, I guess, is interesting, especially because we have 3 black sources. If they don't have a removal spell for Spiritdancer in response here, they don't. Okay, so hard cast Shark Typhoon is pretty tricky for us to beat, but they don't actually currently have card advantage. So let's just protect our Spiritdancer. Sram could be pseudo-useful eventually. Our Spiritdancer has Vigilance, which means it's not directly concerned about the Wandering Emperor. That's nice. Thoughtseize is important here. Removing 1 Shark Typhoon from our opponent's hand means they can't just cycle it to turn it into another card here at the end of turn. And they're going to need to find a spell for the other Shark Typhoon to actually start doing something. And potentially, if they were to just hard cast Shark Typhoon there, we could kill them, but they do not elect to do that. That's enough stuff in the graveyard that we can recast this Sentinel's Eyes, so I can go Sram Sentinel's Eyes. Better yet would be to draw Light-Paws, Stellar, so we get to do that. Do they have an Archmage's Charm here? This could just be representing Shark Typhoon. Okay. Leave stuff in the graveyard for Lurrus, trigger Spiritdancer. If they have a removal spell for Spiritdancer in response here, They don't, so Light-Paws gets to get a Ghostform, which keeps it in play for the All That Glitters. Shark Typhoon forced to cycle for 1. That's super powerful. They have a very hard time removing our ability to just keep re-putting our creatures into play if they don't have an active Shark Typhoon. Just making a bunch of chump blockers is their easiest way out of it. Archmage's Charm, draw 2. Okay, that's not actually scary. Do love to see it. If they play the Strict Proctor as a chump blocker, then 1 mana aura gets us close. Okay, here's the part where I don't actually know how this interaction works. I guess it doesn't change it because I'm going to be doing this literally no matter what. So I just hope this works out in my favor. And that Strict Proctor doesn't shut off Heliod's punishment, triggering Light-Paws. Stifle. Okay. It does not shut it off. Sweet. Alright, let's go get an All That Glitters. Still not lethal, unfortunately, but pretty close. And let's see, Wandering Emperor versus Archmage's Charm. Think I'm happier with them having Wandering Emperor. We get to put them to 2. But that's a cool interaction to learn. So they can Wandering Emperor here. They could choose to downtick on Light-Paws, but they... The Light-Paws comes back, though.
My judgment is final.
They do gain 2 life, I suppose. It's enough to technically not have lethal here. Or did they already gain the 2 life? No, we put them down to 2. So, yeah. So we still have lethal on board. They need to have another piece of interaction. We get to All That Glitters, because Fateful Absence is the only thing that I can get hurt by here, I believe. Yeah, so this should be lethal. We All That Glitters the Spirit Dance. Oh, wait, they can... No. Okay, because if you... Yeah, this works. We All That Glitters the Spirit Dancers for lethal. If they Fatefully Absent the Spirit Dancer, then the Sentinel's Eyes goes to our graveyard, and we get to put it on the Light-Paws and fetch up an aura that gives Light-Paws 1 more power. Of which we have many. Boop. All right. Well, that's a little easier when you have more mana than that, but that works. Okay, so I don't want Heliod's Punishment. I want Inquisition. I want every Esper Sentinel. I don't want Glaring Aegis. I can cut 1 Sram and a Rune of Sustenance and ship it. Okay, unfortunately not a keepable hand despite the presence of mana. This is solid. What do we get rid of? I want to go Thoughtseize, turn to Thoughtseize Esper Sentinel. In that case, feel like I'd rather have the Spirit Dancers than the Light-Paws at that point. That could be wrong. Still sort of learning this deck. Okay, well, we can start with Inquisition. Oh, wow, wedding announcement, huh? Okay, do I care about that at all? I honestly don't know. I'm gonna go with yes, maybe? Alright, we Thoughtseize. I assume I'm just supposed to take Fateful Absence. We Sentinel. Opponent's in a position where they have to give us 2 cards if they want to Fatefully Absent the Sentinel, which when they're low on mana, and we're low on cards, they probably don't want to do. Shark Typhoon cycle for 0. Do not hate it. Okay. So now Thoughtseize stifles mostly fine. It does give them the out of drawing into Lotus Field, which I don't love. Is it correct for me to play around that meaningfully? I could take Fateful Absence. Leaves them with Divine Purge. I think I'm probably actually supposed to take the Wanderer here. But that could very well actually be just legitimate mistake. But it seems like the card that, if they top deck Lotus Field, most hurts me. Okay, Sram, I think, actually does get played. My logic being that it actually increases the clock, which forces them to hopefully spend a card sooner.
Announcement received.
No auras is awkward. I don't want to overextend into this Divine Purge, especially when Spiritdancer isn't even representing damage anyway. Strict Proctor, sure. Okay, I think I've got to make this attack and just replay Esper Sentinel with Lurrus. If the opponent doesn't do anything, do I just... No, I think I still have to play Lurrus. If the opponent hits untap land and plays Divine Purge, that is annoying, but I think it's okay, considering I draw a card and I've got 2 Spiritdancers in hand anyway. Okay, Light-Paws is curious. So if I swing with Esper Sentinel, Sram, and Lurrus, I'm still so into drawing an aura that I think I'm okay setting them up to put Strict Proctor on Esper Sentinel and then Faithfully Absent to Lurrus. Because I do still draw 2 cards off that immediately. And any 1-mana aura lets me play Light-Paws. Plus protection. No, just a Sentinel. Okay, well, that's certainly extremely weird. Alright. My deck's still sort of not functioning as well as I would like. Tap land, huh? Aura? No. Okay, so I, actually can't attack here, then. Wow, okay, this is bad. The good news is they have a Plains, which means they still can't play Archmage's Charms. Okay. This is so weird. Maybe I'm supposed to play 1 Spiritdancer in that position just to force the Divine Purge harder? I guess. Considering I actively want them to Divine Purge here. This is not usually how this matchup goes. On either side. Okay, well that's a tap land at least. There's something. Okay. So I believe we play Light-Paws. Question is, where am I all that glittersing? Probably the Esper Sentinel. We draw 2. They can remove the Esper Sentinel in response to stop the Light-Paws trigger, or they can stifle the Light-Paw trigger after I Strict Proctor it. Or after I pay for Strict Proctor, rather. Yeah, so there's the Fatefully Absent, but they pay for it. Okay. So then we draw a card. We Ghostform the Spiritdancer, draw 2. Pay 2 to get our Light-Paws aura. Could get Cartouche of Zeal here just for the sake of attacking this turn, which pushes through an additional 2 points of damage. I think I would rather just get Valor of the Worthy, most likely. No, I'm supposed to get Sentinel's Eyes, so if they board wipe, we get an aura in our graveyard. That's, like, actually extremely relevant. Okay, what you working with over there, opponent? Multiple Divine Purges. We'll get rid of another one. Do 2 to the opponent. They could Wandering Emperor and down tick on Sram here. We'd be okay with that. They could Nova and blow up creatures. We'd be okay with that. They can Divine Purge. We're okay with that. Spiritdancer comes back. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, stifling that works. Okay. So they potentially have another board wipe. So let's go with Light-Paws, because it can fetch a Ghostform. Let's shock. Let's play Sram. Am I supposed to get 2 Ghostforms down, or draw an additional card? I think I'm probably supposed to get 2 Ghostforms down. So let's put Sentinel's Eyes on Light-Paw. That fetches Ghostform. Put Ghostform on Sram. That fetches Valor of the Worthy. And then play an Esper Sentinel for more pressure and to draw cards when they try to cast things. That should make their life extremely hard. I am out of auras at this point, so I can't go and fetch the anti-block rune for Strict Proctor, or anti-block Cartouche. But I think I should be okay regardless. Inquisition, see what else the opponent has that might be Inquisitionable. Fatefully Absent on Light-Paws, which does actually still come back tapped, unfortunately. We get our 1/1, we get our Light-Paws, we get to take Wedding Announcement. Do I have lethal here? I can make Strict Proctor unable to block if I pay 2/4 mana for it. I doubt I have lethal with the remaining 5 mana. I cannot get another Ghostform at the moment. Okay, and I assume I'm just supposed to draw cards in that case. Sentinel's Eyes, draw 2. All the glitters. Interesting. Probably not supposed to do that this turn, though. That seems like a lethal for next turn thing. Get a Cartouche of Solidarity. No trigger. You get to play a Sentinel's Eyes, draw 2. Guess I shouldn't have shocked. Sequencing in this deck is pretty hard. I still don't feel even remotely competent at it. Alright, now we get to attack with both of these, put the opponent down to 7, presumably they chump block, try to hit the untapped land, play the Cleansing Nova, and then we win. Divine Purge. Okay, that should still be good enough to win, especially with the Light-Paws. Or rather, the untapped Light-Paws, I suppose. So we play the Light-Paws, we play all that glitters. Oh yeah, I might be able to do like 20 damage this turn. Cartouche of Zeal. Mox Amber also pumps the all the glitters. Oh yeah. Much damage. The opponent had like absolutely jaw-dropping miserable luck that game. But, I mean, not drawing lands does mean they draw a lot of interaction. Even if most of it wound up discarded to hand size. Haha, I remembered to start the recording. Okay, we are playing against Selesnya 9 Lives combo, which is really bad for us, because we have no answers to 9 lives. And even just like fair 9 lives is probably going to beat us. in testing this matchup has been pretty abysmal. I would expect that to probably continue, unless I can just absolutely blitz the opponent down, is the hope. I can't afford to Thoughtseize, just need the speed of actually developing my creatures. Opponent's removal includes 1 borrowed time. Do I just have to Heliod's Punishment? That's Sanctum Weaver? Potentially not. I guess I can actually see what they have in hand first. Yowzers. So they get to develop Hallowed Haunting. I definitely have to take 9 lives. I think I still just have to go for all the glitters here. I don't think I can afford to take the time to Heliod's Punishment Sanctum Weaver. Mox Amber's not actual mana, but does produce more damage at the moment. This would be a very, very, very good time to draw Light-Paws. Okay, they don't choose to play out the Hallowed Haunting. Interesting. No, but we draw Sram, which is equally interesting. Okay, so we're going to give the opponent a lot of mana to work with and try to cut them off card draw here. Okay. Here's hoping. Enchantress's Presence. Into Hallowed Haunting, draw a card, make a lot of mana, have a lot of mana, more Hallowed Haunting. More mana. Another Hallowed Haunting trigger here would be hard to beat. Rune of Sustenance is not, unfortunately, a Light-Paws, which probably could have won here. Sentinel's Eyes on the Spiritdancer. Another Heliod's Punishment for the 1/1 could also get us there, I think. Okay, so another pair of draws. Light-Paws or Heliod's Punishment does it at this point? Wait, I don't think all that glitters does it. Does it? Maybe. We're going to hold up red mana in case we draw the Cartouche. Another Mox Amber? Okay. Gives me another draw towards Cartouche. Or another 1-mana aura that
Announcement
might
received.
allow
Round timer
Sram to
started.
attack. No. Well. Unfortunately for us, the Ghostform wouldn't have gotten there anyway. Okay, so this is the part where we probably die. Or at least probably can't win. We also can't beat a... yeah, that. A 9 lives just beats us. So many draws to try to find lethal and could not get there. There's the option where our opponent doesn't play 9 lives here, but that's probably unlikely. Yeah, they found 9 lives. Do I have ways to avoid dying? No. Okay. Bummer. I wonder if I had lethal last turn. I don't think I could have. Maybe if some of those initial auras had put on the Sram instead. I probably still would have been 1 damage short no matter what, though. Bummer. Okay, so we want... let's take a look at this. Stuff doesn't have ETBs. Sideboard includes... Not a lot. Okay, so I probably want Inquisition. I could potentially want Heliod's Punishment. I don't need Valor of the Worthy. I don't need Rune of Sustenance. Yeah, I think I like that. I don't expect much out of Heliod's Punishment, but Declaration in Stone? Not really. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Announcements? Nothing. Okay. Alright, try the play again. An extremely bad hand. Do I need to go for something that's just more aggressive than this? It's so tough to mulligan a mostly functional hand, and yet I just don't think I have time for a hand like that to be good. I don't have time for a hand like this to be good either, and I don't have time for a hand like this to be good. Okay, well, this is much worse than the opening hand, but here we are. What are we on? 4? Okay. Mox gone, you gone. Ghostform gone? Okay. Well, 'tis awkward, but here we are. There's a 9 lives that I just can't actually handle, but our opponent, without the colors of mana necessary to cast it... I think I take the Sithis' Harvest hand. I've got more luck cutting them off the second white source than I do beating Sithis. Okay, Sentinel's Eyes is decent. Candle Trap does not remove the ability of Sram. They find a land that fixes for essentially infinite white. Thoughtseize, not bad timing. Okay. Cancel. I don't know if they have any counter spells. Do they? None that I see. Okay, so we can Thoughtseize. Yeah, presumably take the Sanctum Weaver, combat in 3, and be on our way to the strangest of trying to jank out a victory. Just need to dodge 2 white sources, pretty much. Sentinel's Eyes, pump the Sram, draw a card, land, okay, combat, swing. Well, we're playing Magic. Got him on a 2-turn clock. No white sources, no white sources. We have white sources. I certainly feel like I'm making lots of relevant decisions here. I have to play out my lands because I can just cantrip off and use every point of mana available. It's a possibility. Alright. That's a game of Magic. Should I be playing Fatal Push here, actually? Sanctum Weaver and Sithis are both meaningful cards that are hard to handle. I can't afford to cut anything for them, though. Oh, I could technically afford to cut some number of Ghostforms. This isn't a match with a lot of removal. That does reduce the number of auras I have, which can be meaningfully a problem. I actually probably should have cut a Ghostform for a Valor of the Worthy at the very least. Yeah, so assuming that absolutely happens... I think I'm still supposed to do that. I think I was supposed to have done that last game as well. This feels kind of weird, but so much of their removal is not actually removal that triggers Kaya's Ghostform in this spot. Got a mulligan, no creatures. We can keep. We're going to get rid of a Spiritdancer. Sram is important for making Mox alive. Commune. Would love to draw Thoughtseize. Thank you, deck. Okay, once again, I kind of just need to hurt them on lands, so we take the Commune. They immediately find a white source, so I lose. Okay, I can't actually afford Inquisition here. I have to Heliod's Punishment the Sanctum Weaver, which does not give us a lot of time. If I wait an Inquisition first, they just play the 9 lives, or the Sterling Grove, tutoring the 9 lives, and both of them I can't really handle. Because if Sterling Grove is in play, I can't Heliod's Punishment the Sanctum Weaver. No. And I needed to draw land there. Alright. I can't win here. Well, I suppose that's fair for last game. What can I do here? Nothing. There's nothing in my deck that gets me there, right? I suppose I could try to deck them at this point. That seems unlikely. This is the part where the opponent reads my list and sees that I have no answer to this. I mean, I don't even think they needed to play the Solemnity. I just couldn't beat 9 lives, period. I mean, technically could put 9 counters on it, but super slow at doing that. No, they got more cards in deck than me, and they can probably actually... I'm assuming they boarded into a way to kill me. Theoretically, I could like gain enough life here with Lurrus that if they actually boarded out everything that does damage, I could potentially out-life gain them, but it's wicked hard to do that with a Sram in play that's making all my auras draw things. I could like... Yeah, I'd still need my opponent to misplay. And they can see my deck and know they have no reason to draw a card. Unfortunate. I knew that was a pretty terrible matchup going in and was just hoping to dodge it because it wasn't a very popular deck. But alas, no luck. Okay, now we are actually connected. We are against green-black food. We are on the play. We mulligan hands that don't have a creature. We mulligan hands that don't have a creature. We keep hands that have creatures. Lack for auras, but no real options at this point. Okay, Concealed Courtyard. Opponent kept 7. Main deck removal, 4 fatal pushes. No main deck hand hate. Okay. Turn 1 squirrel. Very well. I think we play this on black. Play the Sram. Don't play the Mox Amber, so they have slightly less incentive to kill the Sram. Looks like they got Fatal Push anyway, though. Client still really doesn't like Fatal Push. Alright, Aura? No. Sram. Interesting. Okay. At this point, I think I'm willing to play the Spiritdancer, because now if we hit an untapped land, we actually get to put Lurrus in hand next turn. Or rather, if we hit untapped land, we can go Sram, Mox Amber, Sram, put Lurrus in hand. Okay, so this attack represents Deadly Dispute on the 0-1 to kill the Spiritdancer, which can't really accept. Oh, one of Village Rights too. Okay. Yeah. That's probably slightly better for me than Deadly Dispute in that spot. Maybe, depending on if they play a Trail of Crumbs here. A squirrel, okay. And a goose. Alright, lots of stuff. Kinda need to start cantripping off here. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's what we're looking for. Let's go draw cards. Okay, okay. I think I can afford to not attack here. There's a chance that I can block one of these squirrels. The smaller one, probably. And I don't think 2 damage is meaningful to me here. Trail of Crumbs. Alright, that's rough. I want to hold this Inquisition if possible until they technically put Lurrus in hand, because it's very difficult for me to beat Lurrus buying back Gilded Goose as a blocker. So that Blooming Marsh represents being a tap land, but they need an... Okay, so they play an untapped land and play another Trail of Crumbs. Okay, they might have been able to attack with the squirrels there. Interesting. Okay, Kaya's Ghostform. That's really tempting. I'm sort of encouraged to put it on Spiritdancer to see about buffing the power up to enough to actually get lethal in the air in one shot. I think I'm supposed to start with the Rune of Sustenance, though. Skyblade's Boon is stellar. Alright, let's see how much damage we can get in the air here. And we have a Glaring Aegis next turn to tap down the Gilded Goose, assuming that's their blocking plan. That is exactly what we are looking for. Okay, we have a game plan. Fatal Push, I would assume here, although they're kind of incentivized to hold that onto our turn so they can actually fizzle our attack during combat. I can technically Inquisition to get rid of a Fatal Push first, but then they just killed the Spiritdancer in response. And I still think I'm supposed to hold the Hand Hate to hit the Lurrus until I find duplicate Hand Hate. This turn they play the tap land. Attacks on the ground that we are totally willing to ignore. I am not blocking that squirrel. I want my Sram. It is technically a mana dork. Okay, Lurrus goes into hand, which means I get to Inquisition. A second Mox Amber is pretty useful. I imagine Fatal Push targets Kor Spiritdancer in response here. They do not have a Fatal Push, which means we win. Okay, so I get to nab Lurrus. Gilded Goose gets to draw a card off Trail of Crumbs. There is no permanent that meaningfully impacts the game here. Yeah, so I don't need to play the other Spiritdancer here. This just should be lethal. Extremely lethal. We might be able to rack up like 30 damage here, I think. Yeah, okay, so they can gain 3 life up to 12, but this is still enough to kill. Takenuma. Okay, so they could have hit Botelho. That should be on my radar, but it wasn't actually enough mana to have that happen here. Alright, that is what a win against green-black food looks like, typically. How much you have to mulligan with this deck is just like every part of the nightmares that I am not equipped to play. This is not my style of deck at all. Okay, I believe I'm okay boarding out Valor of the Worthy. Let's see. Heliod's Punishments and Inquisition of Kozilek seem interesting. I don't know that I'm interested in anything else. Rune of Sustenance has some merit. Not a huge amount, but some. My expectation is that I can probably trim the Valor of the Worthy and the Rune of Sustenance. Do I value getting a 1/1 flyer that I can technically suit up as an alternative to Skyblade's Boon? I need to play around Soul Guide Lantern on Ghostforms and Skyblade's Boon. I can have a very tough time winning this game if Skyblade's Boon gets exiled, because chump blockers are the weaknesses of this version of the deck. But I still need 2 cuts. Yeah, I think Rune and Valor are still the most reasonable cuts. Valor of the Worthy maybe worse than Cartouche of Solidarity. Or maybe better. Oh. That's legitimately close in this matchup, isn't it? What does he put a board into? I'm going to assume I'm supposed to board down on Cartouche of Solidarity. Well, chump blockers are so valuable to have as a tutor target, especially against giant squirrels. I think I'll board down on the Valor.
Announcement received.
Losing the life gain in this matchup by cutting the Rune of Sustenance is awkward, but most of the games that I actually win don't tend to involve me stabilizing after my opponent does a bunch of damage to me. It involves busted starts off of the front. And in that sense, this is one of those weird hands that I think I just kind of have to keep. I know I would keep this if Sram was a Light-Paws, because getting to go turn 2 Mox Amber, Light-Paws, Sentinel's Eyes, fetch protection aura is so powerful, but having 2 hand hate spells makes this just so tempting, especially when the opponent's off to a mulligan to begin with. I can definitely just lose to not drawing lands, and this is a deck that doesn't have a huge number of lands, but 2 draw steps puts me, I think, above 50% to hit a land, and I can technically function without hitting a land. Do I want to shock here? I technically don't need to shock here. I might as well not shock here. Alright, let's see what kind of Trail of Crumbs we get to take. We don't. Interesting. Okay, Outland Liberator's not too scary. I believe I'm just definitely supposed to get rid of Deadly Dispute here. I don't want them sacking the food for cards. Or treasures. Outland Liberator is interesting. The vast majority of the time you're supposed to play the Amber before your Sram, so that if you play Sram into Amber, they can't like Fatal Push your Sram in response to deny you the mana to immediately cast an aura. But Outland Liberator is specifically Artifact Destruction that rewards me for playing the Sram first. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world if they have to sack their food and their Outland Liberator just to kill my Mox Amber. Maybe I'm actually, like, supposed to bait that? Okay, they just don't even hold it up, so not really relevant. I could take this slower. Oh, yeah. Doing it in the opposite order puts a counter on the squirrel. So I could take this slower and actually hand hate the card in their hand. I don't think I'm supposed to, though. I think I'm just supposed to develop the Sram. Draw a card. Light-Paws. Alright, no aura to work with, but Light-Paws is super strong. And I've got a Sentinel's Eyes plus Graveyard Fuel. Lurrus to hand, which I have hand hate for. Hopefully? Hopefully Lurrus to hand. So they can attack with Liberator and Squirrel currently. They can make a food with Goose, but they have no way to sacrifice the food for Goose. They can sack the Liberator. Deadly Dispute. Okay, so that makes Squirrel capable of being a 3/3. Capable of being a 4/4, actually. I think I'm supposed to block the Squirrel, specifically because I actually want them to have to sacrifice stuff to keep the Squirrel alive here. So if they sack the Treasure and the Liberator to blow up the Mox Amber, I guess they could just sack the Liberator to blow up the Sentinel's Eyes. Mox Amber denies me 1 mana. Am I okay with that? They could also actually exile this Sentinel's Eyes post-combat. Okay, so I can't actually block the Squirrel, because they could definitely have Soul Guide Lantern here, which would make that rough on me. Awkward. Do I go for hand hate or developing An aura creature. I think I'm supposed to go for Hand Hate, even though that doesn't use my mana efficiently. Chump blocking the Sram doesn't actually accomplish anything either, though. Okay, I think we play Spiritdancer then. Maybe it's supposed to be Light-Paws. I am uncertain. Both decks functioning on a bizarrely low amount of resources currently. Still can't really block this squirrel. I can't risk getting this Sentinel's Eyes exiled. Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Okay, Lurrus to hand means if I don't draw anything, Heliod's Punishment. Heliod's Punishment the squirrel. Try to top deck a land off of 2 draws so that I can Inquisition. The upside on that is so high, but the downside on that of them getting to resolve Lurrus here with Goose in play. I mean, I could always Heliod's... No, if I Heliod's Punishment the squirrel, then I don't have Heliod's Punishment for Lurrus. Okay. So unfortunately that means I think I just have to go with a Hand Hate. Well, I guess I don't have to do the other Hand Hate spell. Which is good, because my life total really doesn't want me to have to cast Thoughtseize here. So if they fire up Hive, they can attack with both their creatures, because they can sack the treasure to itself to make Squirrel a 4/4. I think I just accept taking 6 damage in that world. And then Heliod's Punishment the squirrel, maximizing my chances to draw lands. No blocks. So this probably means they want to sack the treasure to draw a card. No. Post-combat Meathook Massacre. Okay. For 3. Yeah, that's strong. Okay. I mean, I still have the Heliod's Punishment. Fire up Hive, swing for 7. I don't have life gain. Okay, unfortunately I just can't take this damage from this squirrel. Land drop would be beautiful right now. So I get rid of our Sentinel's Eyes now with the Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Harsh. The return clock to Hive. If we hit an untapped land, I can Ghostform Light-Paws and fetch the rune that makes another creature so that I can actually represent blocking the Hive. No. Land. Okay. Well, I think we got a Light-Paws. Hope they didn't top deck Fatal Push. The pause here is... No, Ravenous Squirrel is the pause. It's not Fatal Push. Or it doesn't need to be Fatal Push, guaranteed. Okay. Going down to 3 with Meathook Massacre in play is rough. Their creatures dying drains us. Yep. They can sack Squirrel to tower and then sack Hive to tower next turn. Shock Overgrown Tomb. Why? Why Shock Overgrown Tomb? To Fatal Push? It doesn't make sense. I can't beat Fatal Push anyway, so I might as well not bother trying. Oh, Deadly Dispute? Oh, that'd be brutal. Sentinel's Eyes lets me trade with Hive. That would be wrong. No, it just has to be Cartouche of Solidarity here. I'm dead to Fatal Push if I attack with Light-Paws. I probably can't beat Fatal Push regardless. Deadly Dispute. I'm also dead to most things. I can't beat most things. I'm on a 2-turn clock before the Heliod's Punishment comes off the squirrel. I can play the second Heliod's Punishment on the squirrel, although that'll get canceled by Phyrexian Tower. I can Heliod's Punishment my own creature if I really... Okay, does that matter, actually? Yeah, okay. It actually does. That means they have lethal attackers. Guess holding back Light-Paws was more correct? I don't know that I'm supposed to play around interaction there, because I don't think I'm allowed to beat interaction anyway. Maybe, but I don't really think I have enough time for that. Not before I'm likely just dead to any top deck creature. Rough. Alright, well, we get to be on the play for the next game. Do we make any changes? Rune of Sustenance would certainly be interesting, although it really doesn't fix the types of problems that we had in that game. Heliod's Punishment still feels pretty necessary for Lurrus, although it's not very good for most other things. I could board it out to bring back in a Rune of Sustenance. If that's correct, I think it was probably more correct on the draw and less correct on the play, so I don't think I'm supposed to change it. It's not exactly how logic works, but... A rough game, too, where we were ahead for most of it. Until we weren't. But... here we go regardless. Let's see what we can make happen. Take the play. Okay. Reasonable? Not stellar, but reasonable. Squirrel. Right. No hand-aid spells yet. Good to see. I think we play Sram here, so that we can play both auras next turn. That way I can play Mox Amber, which only casts Spiritdancer. The upside, if they don't have an interaction spell for the Sram, is higher doing it this way. Okay, they don't have an interaction spell for the Sram, so we get to go off pretty hard here. I do enjoy seeing it. Bump the Spiritdancer. Bump the Sram. Mox Amber allows for some extremely busted starts, because it's a fair magic card. Alright, and we can attack with Sram. They do not have anything that they can sack here to bump the squirrel, so we get to get in some damage early. Our board is insulated from removal. We have Heliod's Punishment to inconvenience a blocker. We have Thoughtseize to inconvenience our opponent's hand. If they have a removal spell in response to Thoughtseize, we get to re-Ghostform after that. So what they can do if they find Soul Guide Lantern is kill a creature and then exile our graveyard in response, which fizzles the Ghostform trigger. Maelstrom Pulse kills both Ghostforms. Oh, okay. That's definitely cute. Okay, let's start with Thoughtseize. I believe I just don't want my opponent to have this Thoughtseize more than I don't want them to have that Witch's Oven. And then we can Ghostform the Spiritdancer, see what we draw. Dictates what land I want to play. Light-Paws. I think I still just go ahead and Heliod's Punishment, draw 2, remove the squirrel blocker. Inquisition can currently take Witch's Oven, which we will now choose to do because we have a duplicate Inquisition for the Lurrus. Lovely. Alright. Here's a game plan for you. Chipping away at the opponent. Not exactly the most aggressive start in terms of damage to the board, but a very aggressive start in terms of developing our engine. Opponent can't play the second Botelho. Probably doesn't want to anyway. I'm assuming they probably want to crack the food. Another ghost form is delicious. I don't want an Inquisition here. So we're going to Light-Paws. I think we're just going to put a duplicate ghost form on the Spiritdancer for the sake of doing more damage. Heliod's Punishment for the O1 is delicious. I think we're just going to get the Cartouche of Zeal here. Sentinel's Eyes is tempting, but I think I'm just supposed to get more damage. We don't need to Heliod's Punishment this turn, although... Oh, I should, actually. Because that's lethal if our opponent doesn't have interaction. I guess they have Botelho, but, like, forcing my opponent to use Botelho is probably correct. Alright, Light-Paws snags. All that glitters forces Botelho. 6, 9... Getting Skyblade's Boon is technically a little stronger. It plays around more things. Even though it doesn't actually force them to Botelho here, I think it's probably still correct just to have access to it now. We have a lot of lands, but ironically all of them come into play tapped at this point. I think we'll be able to make do, though. Wait, is that every ghost form? It is. Oh, cute. Alright, opponent's at 5, has a Witch's Oven. But that's part of why we wanted to get the Skyblade Boon. Flying is powerful. I have 6 mana, meaning I can put Lurrus in play but not do anything with it. I can re-equip Skyblade Boon to Kor Spiritdancer if that seems like lethal. Okay, it is not, because the opponent has Botelho up. All that glitters seems good. I don't actually think I have a rune that I can get with Light-Paws here. But I assume that I am supposed to turn Sram into a lethal threat. Opponent can go to 7 here. Technically, the opponent can go to 9, actually. They can go to 9 and have a chump blocker. Except that we have Glaring Aegis now to get rid of the chump blocker. Technically, we always had Glaring Aegis off the Life-Paw trigger, though. Alright, we'll snag a Sentinel's Eyes. We'll put a Glaring Aegis on the Spiritdancer, tap down the Cauldron Familiar, which means that they either don't gain 3 life from sacking a food, or don't get to block with the Cauldron Familiar. And this is the part where we get to do an absolutely silly amount of stuff. Let's see. I should have Inquisitioned first, because we were so likely to win this turn. I don't think it matters, I just don't think they have the mana to do anything anyway. Even if they have a Fatal Push here, I don't think it's enough. Meathook Massacre, okay. Alright, then we shall kill the opponent. Three lethal threats. Well, technically only 2. Light-Paws barely not good enough. There should not be anything they are capable of hitting here off Trail of Crumbs that's relevant at instant speed. Well, the Cauldron Familiar actually would have been relevant at sorcery speed, though. But I suppose they still would have only gone to 8. Alright, got there. That matchup is scary. Alright, we get to be on the play. We cannot keep 1 landers. We can keep this hand. Cartouche of Zeal is normally really bad to have, but here it actually kind of works. We can ship the Heliod's Punishment, start off with a Thoughtseize, see what we're working with over there. Okay, well, no real choices. Have to get rid of Portable Hole. Okay, all the glitters is interesting. We're gonna have to try to find a source of vigilance. Otherwise the Wandering Emperor is gonna be a problem. How many Jwari disruptions do we have? 3. Alright. I think I'm supposed to leave up the Inspiring Vantage here. This pause can be the Omen of the Sea. Mox Amber doesn't do anything yet. Alright. Kinda going empty-handed now, but a pseudo quick clock, provided there's not too much in the way of top deck removal. Omen of the Sea, incredibly likely to find an answer for the Spiritdancer here, unfortunately. Something gets stopped. Okay. Portable Hole hurts. Lurrus not assisted in this manner. Opponent gets to hold up a Mystical Dispute for Lurrus in the future. Ghostform. A turn too late. More Omen of the Seas. Okay. So I'm likely going to have to wait to play Lurrus until 6 mana, just because of the threat of that Mystical Dispute. Harsh. Alright, well, at least that won't be too long. And luckily they didn't have an untapped land here, so they couldn't punish me by going Wandering Emperor. Okay. So we start with a Mox Amber. Don't want them to be able to remove Lurrus in response to Mox Amber and deny me a card out of their graveyard. I think I'm probably just supposed to all the glitters Lurrus. Hope they don't have March. Yeah, I feel like it's sort of telling that they didn't sack the Omen of the Sea last turn, though. Okay, Memory Deluge isn't great. So I can play around that Mystical Dispute next turn. I can Ghostform both of my creatures.
Announcement received. Round
I can't really play
timer
around
started.
most other cards, but I can play around the Mystical Dispute specifically. We have no Settle the Wreckages. We have 2 copies of Farewell. 2 copies of Wrath of God. Rest in peace. Alright, that makes Lurrus a little bit weaker. No denying that. Okay, I can Thoughtseize and still play around Mystical Dispute, so we will do that. Half expecting this results in a Wanderer. Fateful Absence is rough, but I'm definitely supposed to remove the Wanderer here. In that case, where do I put this Ghostform? The Lurrus is actually a lot less meaningful, but because of all the glitters specifically, more likely to get through Hall of the Storm Giants. Light-Paws is better with most top decks, though, whereas the Lurrus doesn't actually do anything. I'm assuming whichever thing I put Ghostform on is the one they're likely to kill. I also just am not super likely to be able to beat that Narset regardless, though. Alright, let's go ahead and put it on the Lurrus. I think I'd much rather them kill the Lurrus here. See if we get a 1-mana aura. We don't get a land, we can play that. Alright, well, at this point we have flooded out too much, unfortunately. Far too many lands to fight.
prowess.
Moment of the Sea, land drop. Okay, in this spot, Light-Paws has to attack Narset.
This is
I need to hope they don't hit an untapped land here off this other Omen of the Sea. And that I can Thoughtseize the Yorion away is, like, technically a plan. Wrath of God. Put Yorion in hand? No. Opponent is too clever! Alright. I don't believe that there is a route to victory here. If they're not going to make that mistake, I don't have an answer to it. Immediately play Yorion? No. Okay. Interesting. Thoughtseize? They may have also top-decked an answer to Thoughtseize. Okay. I'm not seeing the way out of this one. Eventually they're going to get to attack with all of the Storm Giants while holding up Archmage's Charm, and they have a Narset in play. Like, I'm not sure I can construct a series of top decks that gets me out of this. I'm perhaps prepared to move on. Okay, we get to bring in Inquisition and Esper Sentinels. We get to cut out punishments, Rune of Sustenance. We are on the play. We can cut a Glaring Aegis. And I believe a Sram. Yeah, that feels probably correct. I don't feel this matchup against blue-white control is truly favored. I don't know whether the ratios out of the Yorion version make it slightly more favored or slightly less. I feel like this matchup's probably worse than Lotus Field. Like, the Lotus Field version can Goldfish to just, like, a turn 3 Teferi that's super hard for this deck to handle. But it's a little more vulnerable to hand hate because it's more of a combo deck. This version of the deck just needs to, like, have a huge density of removal spells, and it doesn't play a bunch of stuff that's kind of just finicky, not removal spell stuff. So let's see. What are they going to board in? They're going to board in... They actually don't have a lot to board in. I can board in like 2 Dovin's Vetoes. Take out a Mystical Dispute, maybe? No, they actually... I guess they could board in Malevolent Hermit? I don't know that I actually think that's good, but they can do it. Oh, Malevolent Hermit's super cute with Yorion. You play it on the backside and then blink it and you get the first side again. I mean, like, there's like no way that's actually good or what it's there for, but that's cute. Alright, we take the play. This hand is pretty excellent. Whoa. We're gonna kind of pick up to there. Fortunately, don't have anything to do with this Sram, but I believe I'm probably supposed to play the Mox Amber regardless. Okay, interesting. Inquisition says what? Removal spell on the Sram, I draw a card. Wait, whoa, wait. Okay, Arena. Cool, cool, cool. Not my favorite, but alright. Would have liked to have put Lurrus in hand this turn. Guess we won't do that. Oh, because Mox Amber itself wasn't being targeted, I guess. Yeah. That's rough to see, but okay. Yeah, I think I'm just supposed to crack the clue at this point. They can march the Esper Sentinel. It really hurts to not be able to play Lurrus and Sram this turn. Okay. March happens on Esper Sentinel, presumably. 2 unknown cards going into the next turn. Luckily, the Baneslayer Angel isn't going to be the most immediate problem if we just all that glitters Lurrus. Okay. Yeah, not getting to do the SRAM before that Rest in Peace came down. Kind of painful. Alright, well in this spot, we get to Esper Sentinel. I'm sort of tempted not to cast anything here. The potential of drawing a creature that benefits from this is pretty high. Okay, all that glitters is very interesting. Putting it all on Lurrus gives me lifelink. It's relevant. Spreading it out.
Announcement received.
Can I actually attack with both if I spread it out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Both of these are going to be +5/+5. So yes, if I spread it out, I can actually attack with both and insulate myself from removal spells. They don't quite need to block here. Okay. I think I'm just supposed to play out my mana. I could theoretically cantrip off next turn. The opponent's going to have to give me a card when they remove Esper Sentinel. Oh, did I mess up? Was I supposed to put the Vigilance Aura on Lurrus? I was assuming that I didn't want to get Esper Sentinel killed by second Baneslayer Angel, huh? Okay, that's pretty bad. So I can't attack with both because they double first strike down one of these creatures. One card in hand, plus a Yorion. Okay, Cartouche of Zeal is pretty absolutely stellar if the opponent doesn't have interaction. Hopefully this interaction is an Archmage's Charm to steal the Esper Sentinel. That would be bad for me. Okay, so if Archmage's Charm steals Esper Sentinel, if they Archmage's Charm to counter the Spiritdancer instead of steal Sentinel, I win, I believe. Okay, no. So if they steal Sentinel, my Lurrus shrinks by 1, that Sentinel shrinks by 1. If they steal Esper Sentinel, I can keep cantripping off with Kor Spiritdancer because it won't be my first spell that turn. It'll only be my first spell since they gained control of Esper Sentinel. Yeah, that was what we were not hoping to see. Sentinel's Eyes. Okay. So if I put it on Lurrus, Lurrus becomes a 10-9, 1 more aura. It adjusts power, results in Lurrus being able to attack into the Baneslayer Angels, but they can always just chump block with 1 Baneslayer Angel. If I make 1 Baneslayer Angel unable to block, they have to double block. I can kill the other Baneslayer Angel. I assume I'm supposed to get rid of Baneslayer Angel and try to top deck into... another way to remove a blocker for the turn, but we did not get there. Alright, I would like Yorion gone. Do I attack here? They block, block. That's too beneficial for them. Okay. Was I not supposed to pump the Esper Sentinel? Was not playing around Archmage's Charm a significant mistake? I was probably supposed to pump it to a 2-power creature, but not beyond that? Maybe? Oh, it's got Vigilance. Okay, I could trade with the Esper Sentinel, which accomplishes basically nothing. Okay. At this point, they have Hall of the Storm Giant as well. Both sideboard Baneslayer Angels. How rough. Ah! Alright, well, I don't really have the tools to beat that top deck. Yowzes, 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 yowzes. Nope. Dang. That looked really good for a second up until exactly Archmage's Charm. That was the thing that I was really hoping they didn't have. Oh well. 4 and 3 ain't terrible. That's what we got tomorrow for. See if we can do even better.